Hey guys, Frosty Knives here with just a quick update, a very small book haul, and a quick update as to what I am currently doing. I went to my local Goodwill the other day, and I always peruse the book section, and I hit the book section, and I picked up a couple books that I'm just gonna show you what I got. So first I picked up, they had a couple of these there. So I picked up by Asimov. I went and picked up The Caves of Steel, which is book 2 of the iRobot series. iRobot being a 4-book series. I already have iRobot back here, as a matter of fact. It's right there. So now this is book 2 in that series. Caves of Steel. It's very interesting cover art for the paperback there. And then I looked, hopefully I was hoping to get the rest of the series, but they didn't have all of it, and they just had, the only other one they had was book 4. So I picked up The Robots of Dawn, which was book 4. There's iRobot, Caves of Steel, The Naked Sun, and Robots of Dawn. So now I have all of them except the third book, which is The Naked Sun. So there's a cool picture of a robot on the cover looking, I don't know, forlorn or sexy forlorn, whatever he's doing. All these books were $1. I love the Goodwill for that reason. And then on a complete and utter whim, because it looked interesting to me, and I have no idea what this book is about, but it was $1, and it's fat as fuck, but I wanted to look at it. I picked up by Susanna Clark, Jonathan Strange, and Mr. Norrell. Now, if anybody has read this, let me know how it is. This was $1, and it just seemed interesting. New York Times bestseller, Time Magazine's #1 book of the year. It's quite thick. It's like, Jesus Christ, I didn't even look at the page count. It's over 1,000 pages long, which, you know me, I'm not adverse. Page count does not scare me. You can't intimidate me with your page count. The more pages, more determined I be. That's right. You cannot scare me with your page count. I've read bigger. So this is a book, apparently British author. It was her debut novel. I mean, her debut novel is 1,000 pages long. Imagine that. I mean, I just read a little bit about it. I guess she was writing it for like years or whatever. But I mean, it does come on the back. It does come with a recommendation from Neil Gaiman, from beginning to end, a perfect pleasure, Neil Gaiman says. So, Book Sense, Book of the Year, People Magazine Top 10 book, winner of the Hugo Award, winner of the World Fantasy Award. Apparently this thing is, this says here, a masterpiece of the genre that rivals Tolkien. So apparently this is a good book. A lot of people have said that. And it just seemed interesting to me. It's about two magicians. It's like, not revisionist history, but it's like alternative history and with magicians. I'll just read you the back. It says, at the dawn of the 19th century, two very different magicians emerged to change England's history. In the year 1806, with the Napoleonic Wars raging on land and sea, most people believed magic to be long dead in England, until the reclusive Mr. Norrell reveals his powers and becomes a celebrity overnight. Soon another practicing magician comes forth, the young, handsome, and daring Jonathan Strange. He becomes Norrell's student, and they join forces in the war against France. But Strange is increasingly drawn to the wildest, most perilous forms of magic, straining his partnership with Norrell and putting at risk everything else he holds dear. It just sounded interesting. And for $1, what the hell, right? So if anybody has read it, if anybody's familiar with it, yeah, let me know what it was. It's published by Tor. Tor does some good shit. So I picked that up. Those are my 3 books that I picked up. And then what I'm currently doing now, I literally just unburied this. I found my Kindle, and I plugged it in. This thing hasn't been booted up in 3 years. So I figured, what the hell? Booted it up, and lo and behold, as I drop it, The shit works. It works. So I was surprised. So I'm finally getting around to reading a book that all of you have recommended to me. Okay, I know I do read my comments, and a lot of people make a lot of recommendations. I should read this, and I should read that, and I should review this, and so I take it all into consideration. But almost consistently, a lot of people have been saying that I should read this and review it. So I am currently reading 11/22/63, which is a book I had never read by King. It is on my Kindle. So I am reading it. I'm about 200 pages in, maybe 20, 21, 22% according to the Kindle. And I'm just surprised. I've never read it before. And a lot of you folks have said I should read it. So now I am reading it, and I'm blowing through it. I'm surprised I've never read it. It's really good. And it's almost like it's an It sequel. We'll talk about that when we get to the review. But it's so good to be back in Derry after all this time. And not only back in Derry, but back in Derry at a pivotal moment in Derry's history. So I am currently reading 11/22/63, and then we're going to review that. And then I also bought on my Kindle, I also downloaded and purchased a book by Jack Ketchum called The Girl Next Door, which I had never read, but I heard a lot of good things about it. I know that turned it into a movie and wanted to try it. It was on the cheap, so I also bought that. I'd show that off to you, but it's on my Kindle. So that is what I'm currently doing. I am currently reading 11/22/63. And then I'm going to review it. And at this rate, I mean, I'm blowing right through it. This book is, so far, it's phenomenal. And again, I'm surprised. I don't know why I never read it before. But anyway, that's what's going on in Frosty Land. A little bit of a book haul. I got my Kindle up and running. We're going to be reading, I'm reading a Stephen King book that I've never read before. We're going to be talking about 11/22/63 when I finish it. That's going to be the next book review. And keep the comments coming, guys, because I do read them and I do take into consideration, you know, what you guys recommend. And I have looked into some things that folks have recommended and whatnot. So I do appreciate all the comments, the recommendations. Always looking for good novels, always looking for good horror novels. So if you've got good horror authors or good horror novels, I don't know if that affected anything, but my phone just went into low power mode. So if you got any good horror novel lists, something obscure, something that I might not have heard of, something that's new and exciting. I know horror is hard to find nowadays. A lot of the same thing has been written, but if you have any ideas of good horror books, good horror novels, maybe some new horror novelists, doesn't matter if it's like young adult or adult fiction, leave it in the comments below and I will read it and I'll look into stuff like that. And, you know, that's how I found Nick Cutter a couple years ago, read all of his books. That was from a recommendation, never heard of him before. I read the 2 books of his and they were phenomenal, loved it. So any recommendations out there for good horror, something along the veins of King? Yeah, that would be great. So comment below, and I'm always reading and I'm always looking for good book reviews. So that's what's going on. That's where I am. That's what I'm doing. Quick little video. It still came out to be 8 minutes, but until next time, I will look forward to reviewing this book, and I will see you in the next video.